Good morning. I'm just thinking today about some scriptures in Peter. Our Sunday school classes, depending on, on whose class you're in, different adult classes are running different lessons and different timetables, but a lot of the adult classes are doing lessons on Peter, or they're gonna be, and that's where our class is as well. And just thinking about some things here in Peter. Peter was writing to some people that were in that first century, just very difficult times, lots of pressures, and a lot of persecution, and a lot of hardship, and sometimes we forget these are just regular people like us, but these are also people who had dreams and hopes, and they had looked to Jesus as the not just the Savior. We look back thinking, isn't it great we have a Savior? They were Jewish people looking for an earthly kingdom, and they were looking for an earthly king. And like the disciples the apostles in Acts chapter 1, they said, "Wilt thou at this time set up thy kingdom?" They thought, hey, we're in. This is it. He's going to kick out Rome and kick out all these heathen people. He's going to set up his kingdom. It's going to be great. And Jesus said, no, right now it's not for you to even know what the timetable is. You go tell people about how to get saved. And he sent them to all the world. And that's that famous Acts, we be witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the othermost parts of the earth. Well, then we get to Peter, and he says he's writing in verse 1 to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia. The strangers, normally the word stranger has to do with the non-Jew. And these cities he mentions are not Jewish. They're not in Israel. These are scattered through Asia Minor. And so, at least I believe that's what it would be called. But anyway, as Paul's journeys where he went through these cities, and there were converts all through there. Of course, the first place Paul went when he went to a city, he went to the synagogue because there were Jews scattered everywhere. And so Paul's there, and he's winning Jews, and he's winning lots of Gentiles, and he's starting churches. And so when you get to Peter, he says to the strangers scattered throughout all these different areas, this is called a general epistle, meaning it's not to Timothy, or it's not to Titus, or it's not to the church at Corinth. This is just to those folks that are saved, scattered all over the place over there. But the Peter's got so much writing about suffering and hardship. And so those first century Christians, remember, they didn't have a New Testament yet. It was being written piece by piece, and little by little, there was writings that were being gathered together, but they didn't have a Bible like we have a Bible. And so they were getting saved. They were listening to preaching and teaching, but there was all kinds of harassment, because in order to follow, like in Ephesus, in order to follow Jesus, you had to deny Diana. And the whole city was in an uproar when somebody said these people are trying to overthrow the goddess Diana. So there was a lot of persecution. This early church, these early believers, churches scattered all over, lots of churches, many churches being started, but their pastors couldn't have been saved very long. If we're at 90 AD, there were people, little by little, the gospel moves from Jerusalem around that area, and then it goes over to Antioch. And then from Antioch, the Gentile city, basically, Paul and Barnabas, Paul and Silas, they're sent out as missionaries, and churches are being started. So in the years that followed, they'll start a church, and Paul said to Titus there on the island of Crete, I want you to ordain elders. I want you to get some pastors in place. And he says to Timothy, I want you to get some pastors and some deacons put in place there in the churches there in Ephesus. And so they're picking these people out, trying to teach them Bible doctrine and all. And so this was a revolutionary time. But the one thing that we need to remember is that while they're gaining scriptural knowledge, they're losing their association with the world. Christianity in America, so many people have grown up around Christianity, maybe even going to church, whether they're saved or not. They're around church, they're around some religion. They can tell you the basics of heaven, hell, Jesus dying on the cross and stuff. But we in America, and I don't mean we, you and me, but the average American has merged religion and the secular and the sacred has just kind of merged. And you hear people on the radio, conservatives, talk about their beer and their cigar lounges, and they have no problem with vulgar language, and certainly indiscreet clothing everywhere, and yet they'll talk about their faith and talk about pleasing God and doing right. And so they've merged the secular and the sacred. Well, these people haven't had time to do this. They were walking out of the secular into the sacred. And there's some difficult times. And so I want to just take one simple thought, just have a moment today, and I want to just show you a simple thing here when he talks about what comes to the Christian in chapter 1 of 1 Peter, chapter 1, verse 4. He says, to an inheritance, means God saved us and brought us, made us alive in Christ too. This is our future. In chapter 1, verse 4, to an inheritance incorruptible, undefiled, that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you. Now it goes on to talk about you're kept by the power of God, not your good works, and on and on. But I want to just mention real briefly those four things: incorruptible, undefiled, fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you. Oh, look at the best you and I have is very corruptible. You look at a beautiful concrete patio. You leave that thing a while, it'll begin to deteriorate. The ground will shift. There'll be a crack. There'll be weeds coming up through. And this inheritance that's incorruptible there in verse 4, what we have is not incorruptible. And it goes on, he says, undefiled, it fadeth not away. Those are all words, incorruptible, undefiled, fadeth not away, especially the incorruptible and fadeth not away. They all have to do with the temporary nature of this world. Your car, boy, you remember that beautiful new car? Or you remember that house? Oh, this house is so beautiful. We've got that. We're so excited to have that first apartment. And yet neighborhoods get corrupted. Incorruptible, undefiled. I'm missing a word there. Incorruptible, undefiled, fadeth not away. But fading away, tools, beautiful toolbox, tools, electric appliances that wear out, and houses that, we live in a beautiful home, and I still look at it and I think this is nicer than anything we ever dreamed we'd live in. But there's cracks in the wall, there's cracks in that stucco, and we planted grass and trees and fruit trees and different things, but it's not incorruptible. Termites will take care of that house if they were allowed to. Ants will come in. We have, once a year, usually have somebody come in and spray for ants. About this time of year, they start working their way from the outside in. It gets so dry here, they say they're looking for water. Whatever they're looking for, I'm going to kill them if they don't get out of my house. But everything we have is corruptible. Everything we have is going to deteriorate. It's going to fade away. That nice car that you had 30 years ago, where is it today? It's probably another car, or it's probably tin cans. It's been melted down and reformed or whatever, in a junkyard somewhere. What do we have? Furniture. The furniture wears out. In my truck, you take my 240-pound in and out that driver's seat, it's going to corrupt. It's going to fade away. The rest of the truck will be doing fine. The other seats will be doing fine. I'm probably going to have to replace that front seat at some point because things it's corruptible. They rot. They wear out. Springs come loose. Had a recliner given to us years ago, such a really nice recliner, this infinite position thing. But we had to put a pillow back in the back of the seat because it's just broken down. And one time we took the thing all apart, put all the stuffing back in the right place and stapled the material back in place and all, and it was great for about 6 months or a year, and it all went back where it was. It's corruptible. Well, we're going to go to a place where nothing's going to corrupt. Those golden streets will never have a crack. Those gates of pearl will never rust or rot or be chipped. That mansion he has prepared for you, There's going to be no weeds in the yard if there's yards. I think there'll be yards. I think there'll be grass and pretty things and flowers. But I don't have any Bible reason for that. I just think God likes beauty. Why wouldn't He put some beauty around our houses? And we picture what we're used to. You might be picturing house after house. I'm picturing a house and acreage and a house and acreage and maybe some horses or sheep out there in the field or something. But we're going, He says, to an inheritance that's incorruptible. Nothing's going to ever break where we're going. Nothing is ever going to rot where we're going. Nothing is ever going to be falling apart. When we moved into our house, someone, I don't know who it was only a 7-year-old house we moved in, but it had been empty for most of those 7 years. There's some things that they'd started building, and whoever did it stopped, I don't know, bankruptcies, whatever, and then it got started again after 4 or 5 years. Renters had it for a year or two, and then we moved in. Well, it had a beautiful playground set in the back. I mean, really nice. Somebody spent a lot of money. But now, I've sprayed some varnish on it a couple of times, but it's just wood and the kids on the swings and climbing, and it really needs some serious, TLC. But I'm busy, and so kids will play on a broken swing set as good as a new swing set. But things deteriorate. There's going to be there's going to be nothing defiled. It's incorruptible, undefiled. It fadeth not away. My hair, I don't care a lot about what color my hair is, but the color in my hair has faded away. My athletic ability corrupted and faded away. I've had one knee replaced, got another one on the schedule. The doctor said, "Yeah, we'll do it." And we set a date to do my other knee, and this body is corruptible. And when you get to heaven, there's going to be no corruption. You won't need any hearing aids or glasses, and won't need any walkers or any canes. And at where we're going, there's never going to be. Look at that word, that second word there. It's incorruptible. It's undefiled. There's going to be no vulgar talk where we go. There'll be no. I was looking at something. Just scrolling through something, I think, whatever it was online, YouTube or whatever. Our church is on there, and I listened to a lot of preaching on there. But this thing popped up of a very popular gal, and you know what? She looked like a whore. She looked like she was an advertisement for a bunch of hookers. Her body movement, her dress. I thought, how shameful that and it's a name that all of our kids would know. How shameful that our children know this person's name. But you've seen it. You've seen men and the way they act, and all the way back to the Elvis Presley days. I heard people talk about his sensuous body motions, and I was a kid. I didn't see any of it. I don't remember any of it. But it's defiled. It's a world where there's abuse. We're in a world where there's pictures that are wrong, and people put things on their cars, and it's not freedom of speech when they put that in my kid's head. I don't want my kids to see that bumper sticker or that billboard or whatever it might be. And we live in a defiled world. People are worried about health food and chemicals and all this, and I don't have any problem with healthier food. That doesn't bother me. But I'm more worried about polluting my child or my grandchildren's soul than I am their body. And I'd like their bodies to live, and who wants their kids or grandkids sick? But you're going to a place that is undefiled. Over in Revelation, it says, there entereth in nothing that defileth. Nothing is going to come into that place that will defile it. If you're saved, you're going to go to a place that will never be dirty morally. There'll never be a comment, a joke, a sitcom. There'll never be indiscreet comments. There'll never be people who twist a common statement and make it sound lewd or whatever. And I just love the idea. We're going to go to a clean place, a clean place. When we leave this earth, our loved ones that are gone, you know where they are? They're in a place that's incorruptible. Verse 4, our inheritance is incorruptible. Nothing can possibly, there'll be no squeaky hinges. There'll be no leaky roofs. There'll be no screens that get, how screens kind of get plugged up with dirt and junk, and you got to wash the screen. I don't think we'll need screens. I think the air will be pure, and there won't be any mosquitoes or spiders or anything. How could a spider be in heaven? That would defile it. Incorruptible, undefiled. The air will be celestial, perfect, pure air. Incorruptible, undefiled. Nothing that will defile will come into that place. And then he says, incorruptible, undefiled. Here's incorruptible, undefiled, and fadeth not away. When I was at the doctor the last time, he was asking about my knees and the one. I said, well, the one you fixed, I could go back and play tennis with a knee that feels that good, but my strength is fading away. And here at 68, I feel good, and even without this other surgery yet, I feel good. I'm not walking right now. I'm sitting down, but aren't we blessed? But we fade away. This body, our eyes fade away. Our ear. Look at these glasses, and thank God I can wear the readers. I can buy cheap readers, but we fade away. Our houses and you go to a city, the cities fade away little by little. The neighborhoods wear down, and sidewalks, trees lift sidewalks, and cement steps to houses get broken up, and pretty soon it's our neighborhoods fade away. Our government certainly fades away. Hey, you're going to a place it will not fade away. 10,000 years from now, heaven will be as pristine and perfect as it is the day you walk in. And 100,000 years later, using what we're familiar with, our sidewalks will be as clean. Our grass will be edged. And say, who's going to mow the lawn? I don't know. Maybe it'll just be always the perfect height. And are we going to have a haircut in heaven? I think maybe our hair will always be the perfect length. And we won't need a gym in heaven. We won't need, who knows what we'll have or need in heaven. But we know this, it's not going to fade away. You have lights that begin to flicker, and you have lampshades that get dirty and broken, and couches that get things spilled on them, our world is fake. Look, this world is such a facade. Now, it's a beautiful facade. I love flowers and outdoors and animals and all that stuff, and I love most people too. But I love all the people, but some I love them better when I don't see them. But this world, this world's fading away. Over in a little bit later in Peter, he says, "This is seen that all these things shall be dissolved." This is all going to burn up. Seen then that all these things shall be dissolved. What manner of persons ought we to be? And if you're in our lessons on Peter, if your class is teaching it, you'll get to those. But you know what? Heaven's not going to fade away. Heaven's going to be as good 1,000,000 years from now, and it'll be beautiful, and it'll be we're not going to grow weary. We're not going to get bored. We get tired of our car, even though it still runs. We get tired of our house, and we don't. But a lot of times you want something new. We're going to be perfect. We'll wake up every day loving God and serving God, and we'll be reigning and ruling with Christ. And it's going to be a perfect place, undefiled, and it's incorruptible. It'll never corrupt. It's undefiled. It will not fade away. But notice that last, the fourth thing, reserved in heaven for you. I've walked up to car rental counters. I've walked up to hotels and said, my name is, and I need a room. And right over there, someone's saying, we don't have any cars. And I walk up and they say, hello, Mr. Goddard, here's the keys to your car. You know the difference? One was reserved for me. I've gone to hotels where they're saying, we don't have any rooms. And they tell that person no room. They tell me you got a room. Well, the key is reserving. And I have been on the side where there was no cars when somehow I failed to reserve something. But you know what, right now up in heaven, if you're saved, the day you trusted Christ, Jesus said, let's just put their name in the book of life. They've got a reservation, and they belong here. And we're going to see our loved ones. We're going to be caught up together with them to meet the Lord in the air. We'll meet our loved ones. We'll meet our friends. We'll meet our enemies that are saved, and we're going to all be friends again. It'll be so good to love people with a pure heart. I don't have a pure heart. It's been cleansed by the blood of the Lamb, but this old flesh of mine's rotten and corrupt. And I look forward to the day that there'll be no hesitancy and love and to be able to trust everybody. You'll never have to worry about people letting you down. And man, this where we live today, this place stinks. This place is just a dump. And you are moving into a mansion in a world that is so this place is going to, of course, God's not even going to save this place. He's going to burn it all up and make a new one. There'll be a new heaven, new earth. But and again, I like where I live here, but wait till I see my new house. And it's going to get so much better. There's a lot of things we don't know about heaven, but we know 4 things. It says that our inheritance is incorruptible, it's undefiled, it fades not away, and it's reserved in heaven for you. That's a good way to start your day. And whatever we're having to deal with today, it's going to get better. It's going to get way better. Hey, I hope you have a great day. And let's look forward. Colossians 3 says, if you be risen with Christ, or if you're saved, like he's been born again, he says, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. Keep your eyes on him. Keep looking up. And one day we'll see him. And whether we die and see him or whether we're raptured and see him, either way, we're going to see him. And it will be so incredibly good. And I'm glad you and I have a home and a place reserved for us.